Player of the Year. Their championship hopes depend on this guy getting back to who he is, and they win with paint and pace.
Take a look at tonight's starting lineups. It'll be a different look for North Carolina as they try to get all of the seniors in the starting lineup, and they do have 5 seniors starting. Page, Bryce Johnson, the regular starters, with Joel James and a couple of former walk-ons, and Coleman and Dalton. Mike Eads is the lead official, working with Jeff Anderson and Michael Stevens. Carolina in white, Syracuse in orange, and the tip controlled by Bryce Johnson. Coleman and Dalton, they likely won't play for very long. Coleman's from Raleigh. You know the crowd would like to see these walk-ons who played very little score before getting out of the game. There's a chance, an air ball out of the corner, but Joel James is there.
So what do seniors and classmates do? Pick up for one another. Nice job on the weak side glass, Joel James.
Dajuan Coleman for Syracuse, guarded tightly by James. Now Trevor Cooney, also a senior. He just played his last home game for the Cuse Saturday in their win against NC State in the Carrier Dome. Malachi Richardson, Michael Benajay, Tyler Roberson slumping lately, and his shot swatted by Bryce Johnson. James again attacking the offensive glass. Johnson's turnaround wouldn't go, out of bounds to Syracuse. Justin Coleman, to give you some perspective, had played in just 8 games all year, scored 3 points. Spencer Dalton had appeared in 11 games for a total of 14 minutes, and had scored 2 points this season. So they get a minute and 12 seconds before they head to the bench.
But do you love the tradition? I mean, it takes some guts as a coach, right? ACC championship is not yet secure. You've got to win some games. You've got a tough one against Duke to close it out. But you honor the guys who've been in your program for 4 years. Love it.
We've done that at Carolina for a long time. One of many traditions here. Benajay way off. And Joel Berry, the push. Marcus Page sealed off by Cooney. Justin Jackson just in off the bench, ordinarily a starter. James still in there, ripped it away from Dajuan Coleman.
Already you can see Carolina's ability to board is problematic for Syracuse. Jim Boeheim was telling us prior to the game, listen, we've got to protect the paint a little bit better, defend on the interior, because that's where Carolina won the game in the final 5 minutes. They went high-low exclusively. And you have got to be tougher on the glass if you're Syracuse. Look at James just rip this out of Dajuan Coleman's hands.
Roy Williams was talking this morning about how emotional he is on senior day. Talked quite emotionally about Joel James, a young man who came from very tough circumstances in South Florida, one of 11 children. And he has become a student leader on campus here in Chapel Hill. Bryce Johnson trying to enhance his resume as a ACC Player of the Year possibility and an All-American candidate, certainly. Dajuan Coleman had a lot of room, wasn't even looking toward the bucket.
Surprised. Ooh, the whole right lane.
Cooney, he's been in a shooting slump. Roberson looked like he got away with a bit of a walk, shuffled his feet and scored. He has scored a total of 4 points in their last 2 games against Pitt and NC State.
In fact, in the second half of their last game, didn't get a lot of burn. You see, this coach is a little bit frustrated with him because he's typically in the lineup.
Joel Berry had a terrific year. That's a 3. He's their team leader in 3-point field goals made. That's his 49th. Carolina's made fewer threes than any team in the ACC, while only Duke has made more threes than Syracuse. Bryce Johnson called for the foul to the chagrin of Roy Williams, one of 2 Hall of Fame coaches in this game tonight. On the opposite bench, Jim Boeheim, like Roy Williams, enshrined in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in beautiful Springfield, Massachusetts. Richardson had a solid freshman year. Lydon for a 3. That's short. Like Richardson, Tyler Lydon's a freshman.
Two good-looking freshmen with tremendous upside. I love Richardson's game. I like Leiden as a stretch four. He is the prototypical big man in this day and age. At this level and the next, it seems Leiden.
Bryce Johnson over Leiden. Because Syracuse doesn't have a lot of depth up front, Leiden's had to play in the middle of that 2-3 zone, which I don't think will be the case as they go forward.
Agreed, Sean. The last time these two teams met back on January 9th, he really was still skittish, trying to find his legs. Not much of a factor. You wonder if for Jim Boeheim, can he help them in a tough environment?
Benajay had an excellent senior season. As a matter of fact, he scores. Jim Boeheim said last night if Syracuse was one of the top teams in the ACC, he'd probably be getting more attention as a Player of the Year candidate in the conference.
He's all over every stat. He leads the conference in steals. He's right there in threes made. He's been terrific.
Page's miss run down by Roberson. Last time Roberson played in this neighborhood in January at Duke, he had 20 rebounds. The opponent record at Cameron Indoor Stadium. 12 of them were the offensive end, the Syracuse all-time record.
Syracuse finds itself down 3. Michael Benajay coming off a career-high 34 points.
Carolina, Marcus Page and Phil Ford, the only Tar Heels with 1,700 points and 500 assists. Marcus has made nearly 40 more threes than anybody else. And Bryce Johnson, one of those guys who's improved year to year. 17 double-doubles to lead the ACC as a senior.
5 times 25 points or more. He's 8th in the league, just under 17 points per game. He certainly had a Player of the Year worthy season. I have somebody different. I think you'll agree. We'll get to that a little bit later. But he's been terrific. And yet we talked to Roy Williams earlier this afternoon. He said, I want more from Bryce.
Because he believes he's capable of it. Ball moves quickly to Kennedy Meeks, just in off the bench. And now a three out of the corner for Justin Jackson, who's been a hot shooter of late.
Couple things you get against the zone. They get a paint touch, they got ball reversal, and they got a clear shot and a nice jump of the passing lane.
Barry the steal and the bucket with Benajay trying to get back. 5 points for Joel Berry. Their team leader in steals. He's 6th in the conference, a steal and a half per game.
It's the top of my list, Sean. We protect against runouts. It's hard enough to deal with North Carolina because they have a lot of options on the offensive end. You've got to make them play against that set zone and settle for jumpers.
They don't score much off turnovers. Most of their offense in the half court. Trevor Cooney, the bucket. Looked like it might have been goaltended as well and still went in. Page double team Johnson. Now Jackson from the weak side. Looked like the ball slipped out of his hand on the way up, and Leiden wound up with it to Cooney. Cooney to Benajay. And that one popped in and out. Poked by Page to Johnson. Marcus Page, everything you want in a college basketball player, according to Roy Williams. We chatted this morning. Terrific student, great person. Bryce Johnson there to follow up. 4 for the senior from Orangeburg, South Carolina. Marcus Page scores twice a second-team academic All-American, double major here at North Carolina in media and in history. Leiden's turnaround too strong. Roberson. Chance for a three-point play for the Orange.
That's Roberson at his absolute best. Take advantage of his hops, the ability to get on the backboards, get second chance opportunities, get it back within 2 possessions. He does not have inside position, just makes good use of it.
Kennedy Meeks the foul for North Carolina. 4 rebounds already for Roberson.
I just want to go back to what you said about Page, because I feel like all season long my expectation has been Marcus Page will be the Marcus Page who was so dynamic in his first 2 years. I think to your point, he is such a good kid, cares so much. that he's pressing a little bit, Sean. He's got to figure it out because this team has enough ability to win the national championship, but they need him.
Bury the miss. Isaiah Hickson off the bench for this deep Carolina team. They certainly have as much, if not more, quality depth than any team in the country. Syracuse down by 3. Benajay, the transfer from Duke. Wow, 4 points for Benajay off the career high 34 Saturday in the Dome.
You talk about a kid who's made some strides as an offensive player. This is a guy who really, for most of his formative years, was not a perimeter guy.
Nate Britt traveled, tried to jam the brakes on, and he walked.
Let's watch Michael Benajay work. He's really made himself a terrific three-point shooter, but how about the ability with a little back-down dribble to get separation? That looks like a pro move right there.
Well, when he transferred to Syracuse, Jim Boeheim thought he'd be a productive contributing player, but this is beyond what Coach Boeheim expected. Scored just 33 points in his 1 year at Duke, playing behind a lot of good players. Tyler Lydon, a strong drive, and he was fouled. And Mike Krzyzewski said when they recruited Benajay, they thought he was that kind of a guy who would get better and better as his career went on and have a chance to be very good when his career was winding to a close. Isaiah Hicks called for the foul on Lydon. 4 team fouls against North Carolina. Syracuse has not been called for one yet.
Think about how heavily reliant Syracuse is on their graduate senior guards, Trevor Cooney and Michael Benajay. I mean, every single night, these guys have got to be productive from 3. They both get to the free throw line over 4 times per game. At the top of that zone, they're active. They've got great awareness of concepts. Just a little dap right there saying, let's get a stop here.
6 straight points for Syracuse to tie the game. 10 players have played already for North Carolina. Barely 8 minutes in. Isaiah Hicks, the tip. Roberson kept it alive. And now a chance for the lead for Syracuse. Roberson. I think Coach Boeheim will like his effort so far tonight. He got it back after his shot spun out. Malachi Richardson gives Syracuse its first lead of the night with a 3.
No better teacher than the Pine, right? You can see Roberson wants to stay in the lineup, Sean. He gets him an extra possession and the 3 that gives him the lead.
And then Bryce Johnson, trying to establish position down low, gets called for the foul, and that's his second. When we come back, we'll share some senior memories with Marcus Page and Bryce Johnson. Put on the uniform at a home game. It has to be a distraction, at least starting tonight.
Yeah, Marcus Page was talking about, he was looking at some pictures of himself as a freshman. Hard to imagine he is actually heavier because he was so lean. His legs were like sticks. He has actually filled out a little bit.
Benajay traveled as he went to pick up his dribble. 3rd Syracuse turnover. Syracuse on a 9-0 run to take a 3-point lead. 11 minutes to go in the first half. The Orange on the comfortable side of the bubble, at least for the time being. Joe Lunardi has them in the tournament as a number 9 seed. They're 19-10. There's that high-low action you talked about that was so effective in the game earlier this year up at Syracuse, and Hicks scored the basket for Carolina. He had 21 points in the Carrier Dome, his career high. Another Syracuse turnover, back-to-back possessions, which they gave it away. Theo Pinson, the 11th player to play in the game for North Carolina. Luke May also on the floor, so they've played 12. Page long with it. Lydon went tumbling down. Hicks possessed it for North Carolina. And the 3 wouldn't go for Pinson. But Luke May on the offensive glass. The freshman from Huntersville, North Carolina, who averages just 1.3 points per game.
Yeah, he's been active. He's only checked into the basketball game last minute, but he has been moving on the offensive end. And we're going to get a foul on Marcus Page out front.
Page called for his first. Super Tuesdays tomorrow. It's presented by Hotels.com. Tyler Ulis and 22nd ranked Kentucky taking on Florida, team on the bubble. Probably get their way into the tournament with a win in that one. Then on to the Big Ten. Talking about terrific seniors, Yogi Ferrell and the Hoosiers battling the Hawkeyes, who have started to head in the wrong direction. Both games on ESPN. Also live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
Yogi Ferrell 2 assists shy of 600, and he's got 1,800 points. That's a fairly productive career for Yogi Ferrell.
1 out of 2 for Benajay midway through the first half. Syracuse and North Carolina tied at 18. May the handoff. Henson gave it back to Brett. Blocked. In traffic by Frank Howard, who's come in off the bench. Out of bounds. Crowd doesn't like it. Page and Roy Williams don't like it, but it's Syracuse ball. And the crowd has reason to boo. Off the leg of Benajay and out of bounds. Howard, backup point guard, doesn't play much. Benajay is 6th in the country in minutes played per game at 37.5. He doesn't come off. He's on the floor right now as they're playing with a smaller lineup. Benajay a long 2. And another rebound for Luke May. Plays just 6 minutes per game. Now this time Benajay's turn to protest that he wasn't the last to touch. Good hands by Leiden.
Similar to the last opponent for North Carolina, Virginia, Syracuse is going to make Carolina beat them at a pace that they'd rather not play at.
You think, as you said at the top of the telecast, with the size, strength, talent inside and Syracuse weakness in the inside, that would be where North Carolina would try to attack. And Syracuse doing a good job of not letting the ball get in the middle of that lane. Make them shoot threes. Part of the strategy, and that time it didn't pay off for Syracuse, is Nate Britt. Made a 3. But Carolina 32% for the year, Doris, from three-point range. That's going to be the worst in school history if it remains at 32%.
It's not something that they can consistently rely on. They do, however, have to be opportunistic enough to keep defenses legitimate. Tough move by Cooney, a challenging size.
Yeah, he seemed concerned about the defense. Shot clock didn't reset, so Benajay had a fire. Leiden couldn't rip it away from May, who's given them some productive minutes. Knocked out of bounds by Benajay. Dajuan Coleman comes back in for the Cuse. And Roberson will take a seat.
That at least gets Leiden out of the center of that zone and slid over, as Dajuan will now man the center.
Henson a 3. His first bucket of the night. He was just 2 for his last 22 from beyond the arc before that one. Howard, a freshman, handed it off underneath to fellow freshman Tyler Leiden for 2. Half of Carolina's shots so far have been threes. I think Jim Boeheim would be very happy with that if you told him that would be the case before the game. May steps in a little closer, and Coleman's had all kinds of knee trouble during his career. Actually got off the floor pretty well to corral that one. Backdoor cut by Benajay. Blocking foul is the call. Isaiah Hicks still moving into the path as Benajay arrives. Second foul on the junior.
Iowa State over on the U, and Abdel Nader, Jay. Well, what is going on with this guy?
Just able to slip through the cracks right there, and a strong finish over the top.
Strong finish to the rack. That gave Iowa State the 3-point lead, but here comes Chris Olivier and the Pokes. It's going to give Oklahoma State the lead back. Right now it's tied up. About 6.5 minutes left to go in the first half of this one, right?
Iowa State, one of the 7 teams that Joe Lunardi projects into the NCAA tournament out of the Big 12. Congratulations to Kansas, at least to share the conference title for the 12th year in a row.
It's remarkable consistency and excellence from Bill Self. And how about that Texas team starting to come around for Shaka Smart?
That is a team no one is going to want to see in the brackets matched up against them. Benajay goes to the bench for a brief breather. Be a 7-point. I mentioned it. 12 3-point attempts for North Carolina. They've made 4. Syracuse done an excellent job preventing the ball from going inside.
And if you're North Carolina, at least with these threes, a lot of them have been uncontested. 4 different guys have made one, and that's Justin Jackson's specialty. He is so slithery and terrific shooting those 6 to 8 foot floaters on the move. He really is pretty extraordinary with that shot, and from all angles and every spot on the floor.
5 points for the sophomore Jackson, who shot 57% from the floor over the last 8 games. Howard, tough shot. Right-handed shot while floating through the air to his left. First bucket of the game for Howard. Doesn't score much. 1.5 per game. Pass a little too hot to handle. May in the game longer than usual. And he's earned those minutes with his quality play off the bench. 4 North Carolina turnovers now. Offensive foul on Dajuan Coleman. Set a screen and rolled and was a little too frisky in the screen.
And these are some of the threes that we were talking about, because if you're Jim Boeheim, you're right. You want to make Carolina beat you from here. The one thing I would say is at least they've gotten those threes off of at least 2 or 3 passes. They've been fairly uncontested looks, and here is what they've done all season versus tonight. So can they sustain it? We'll see.
Crowd roar that you heard on the Dajuan Coleman foul was in part because it was the first foul of the night called against Syracuse. Well, North Carolina's already to the bonus. Benajay quickly back in there. Richmond, Virginia, guarded by Barry, and another offensive foul called by Jeff Anderson. This one on Benajay for clearing out with the free arm.
It's a tough call. Let's take a look at the replay. And he pushes off. And I guess given the advantage we've given to the offensive player in terms of not being able to hand check, I guess you've got to go both ways. I didn't love it.
Barry trying to split the top of that 2-3 zone. Justin Jackson off the mark from 3. Dajuan Coleman the rebound. It's 5 on 4s. Joel James fell down. And they take advantage going inside to Dajuan Coleman. Senior from Jamesville, New York, just outside Syracuse. Jamesville DeWitt High School produced Andy Rowdens and Brandon Trish, who also played with distinction for the Orange. Page got Benajay in the air. Jackson, there's that shot that Doris talked about.
It's a lot of different ways to attack this zone. Right now, Syracuse is doing a very good job taking away the high-low that have been so effective down the stretch. Now, all of a sudden, the threes and Justin Jackson along the baseline is how they're looking to attack.
Lydon looked around, nobody near him, fired an air ball.
Let's watch Justin Jackson again. A paint touch allows for a kick out to the corner, and you get guys in rotation. That shot's a little bit easier. And how about this? Benajay pulls that dribble back, understanding that Dajuan Coleman's going to fill the lane, and size-wise, James is not there to guard him. I love the progression of Michael Benajay.
Barry for 3. They've already made more threes in the half than they average per game, or as many in the half as they average per game. Benajay, another offensive foul. Again, a little too frisky. Trying to get rid of the defender, Joel Perry. Perry, one of their best defenders.
They'll have to make an adjustment, but another case where the ball is reversed off multiple passes, uncontested. Nice.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by State Farm.
He sends it inside. And a foul called. Kennedy Meeks, just his second shot attempt of the night. Tyler Roberson was there defensively. They gave the foul to Tyler Lydon, his first.
Before checking in for this stretch here, Roy Williams had played Kennedy Meeks 5 minutes. Luke May has already earned 7 minutes. He only averages 6 on the year. So it's interesting watching Roy Williams coach this particular edition. And I was listening to Seth Greenberg this morning on SportsCenter talking about he didn't think Carolina had an identity on the defensive end, on the offensive end. It'd be very interesting to know from him, from a coach's perspective, to me at the half. As Roy continues to pull the strings, how concerning for a coach that you've got 1 game left in your conference after this season and you're still pulling strings to try to find the right things with guys.
Cooney trying to cut into what is now the largest lead of the night for North Carolina. Then a chance to widen it. Jackson out for Page, through the lane, a little too strong, and Roberson ripped it away from Justin Jackson. 8 rebounds already for Roberson, and Cooney pays it off with a 3 at the other end. 7 for Cooney, graduate student at Syracuse from Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah, this playing very much like the last matchup where it looked like North Carolina. That's a walk or a jump, something.
A held ball, the call by Jeff Anderson. When they go to the arrow, it goes over to Syracuse.
This is Malachi Richardson showing some toughness. I mean, he's got 2 jerseys around him. And then how about this? Benajay the push, gets it to his running mate. And you better run to transition 3 when Cooney or Benajay are around.
I apologize. I thought it was Roberson. It was indeed Richardson. Cooney feeling it. That's a 3. Boy, he's been in a slump the last 2 games. 2 for 17 from the floor, 1 for 13 from 3. But he has 10 points. Jim Boeheim says he hasn't even shot the ball well in practice lately. Different story tonight.
You know what he did? He sprinted into that shot, and it felt like there was so much confidence.
Page, the response. The 6-3 for Carolina. Worst 3-point percentage in school history coming into the game. 40% tonight as compared to their 32% for the year. And they've made twice as many threes as Syracuse in this game. Cooney. Ooh.
Heat check. You're not that hot. Marcus Page from deep with 15 ticks on the shot clock, so you better put this one home. And this was a sprint into that 3. Holds his follow through.
He's one of those guys, Doris, the more off balance he is, the more he's leaning, the more it's defended, the better it seems he shoots. He's one of those guys. Jim Boeheim said it last night. Kennedy Meeks in the lane. It used to be every 3 he took was guarded so tightly because other teams would stay up on him. But now you have Benajay making 3s. Richardson, Lydon can all make 3s. Terrible pass by Benajay. Meeks all the way to the bucket. 6-point lead. Another terrible pass. They were out of bounds on the sideline.
Wow. You just don't see that kind of play from him. Little casual pass. Meeks reads it. He's just saying, okay, you're going to be casual with the ball. I'm going to make you pay for it. Back-to-back plays like that, and Coach Boeheim, in disgust, takes Benajay out.
And Benajay jogged right by Jim Boeheim, and Boeheim didn't say a word to him. Cooney. Good catch by Lydon, and the score in traffic.
I like that young man, Sean. I think he's a big-time talent. That body's going to fill out. He's going to get stronger. He's got terrific touch. We've seen him make a couple of really tough moves inside.
Jackson. Pinson trying to keep it alive. Roberson ran it down. About 5-second difference between game and shot clock, and Jim Boeheim will use the timeout. now Joe Lunardi has Virginia and North Carolina's 1 seeds. He'll have North Carolina off the 1 line, though, if they lose tonight, with surging Michigan State moving up to the 1 line.
Still so much basketball left to be played. I think you're going to see that seed line change. ACC tournament is not going to be a cakewalk.
Howard. Offensive foul. His first. Be interesting to see in the second half, Doris, if fatigue is a factor. Jim Boeheim playing these bench players a little bit more than usual, particularly Howard. Both teams played Saturday, quick turnaround. Syracuse played only 7 men Saturday. Carolina, as we've seen, ordinarily 10 or 11 deep, even deeper than that tonight, having started the 2 seniors who have walked on senior night. Like, it is very warm in this building. It was an unseasonably warm day today.
No question. Benajay, you never see him make back-to-back plays. Is that fatigue? Is that season-long fatigue?
Made the miss on the last shot of the half. It was in the 70s here in Chapel Hill today, and this building is very warm. 6 threes in the first half for North Carolina. They averaged 5.4 per game.
Off of ball movement, and so in rotation, uncontested, in rhythm. Not a bad shooting display by the Carolina Tar Heels. Now, can they sustain it, or will they go to their paint game? They were 7 for 13 inside of the paint. That is where they have won games all season.
They score more points in the paint than any major conference team. 42 points per game in the paint. Can we start the half over?
Was there something? Was Raftery back there with a beverage for you,
I did not go in for a
what?
beverage at the half. I can promise you that. Oh, maybe I should have, the way it's going. Justin Jackson, the free throw shooter. The foul on Dajuan Coleman, his second. But they score, Carolina, just under 50% of all of their points in the paint. Highest percentage in the country among major conference teams.
How about 29-7 advantage in paint points for Carolina in that first half?
Coleman to Cooney with Benajay. Richardson with the ball now, and Roberson starting the half for Jim Boeheim. Richardson too strong. Page the push. Carolina looks to run. Beautiful ball movement to Bryce Johnson. Off the fade from Justin Jackson.
I think you got to call a timeout because it's the momentum's flying, and he just took a poor shot. The Syracuse on a few occasions has just driven into sides.
Cooney off the mark from 3. The 7-point lead matches the largest of the game for Carolina. Malachi Richardson's had a very quiet night so far. Benajay misses, and Coleman pushed off, and that's his third. And they have no depth. They're a 7-man team.
In transition, this is where we're accustomed to. There's one of those paint points. Nice extra pass. And, you know, Seth Greenberg just touched on this, and I thought it was an interesting point. As you see Marcus Page collect the hockey assist, he thinks that, and he's saying, listen, I'm from afar. I'm not coaching Roy's team, but if it were him, he likes Page with the ball in his hands because he becomes a playmaker for others. But it's a hard thing to do because Joel Berry has played great basketball, Sean.
Isaiah Hicks tried to bounce it underneath, and that's the 8th turnover for North Carolina. Benajay all the way to the bucket. Offensive foul, the call. His third. So you think, Doris, back to the first half.
Yeah.
When it was 7-0 in fouls, North Carolina had been called for 7. Syracuse for 0, and now all of a sudden Syracuse has 2 players with 3 fouls.
Well, boy, that's a tough call to have to go against you right there. I don't know if he was in the restricted area, but you know, boy, it looked like he changed his body, and the initial defender wasn't there on time anyway.
Benajay's going to have to play through it. Coleman went out after his 3rd foul. Jackson long with a 3. Richardson tipped it out. No basket. Foul on the pass underneath. It's on Malachi Richardson, the freshman from Trenton, New Jersey, his first. Already 4 team fouls against Jim Boeheim's squad in the second half, and Carolina hasn't been called for any. Page handed it off. Bryce Johnson missed the shorty. Out of bounds to the orange. Just 4 points so far for Bryce Johnson. Their leading scorer, averaging 17 a game.
I know Page has not shot it necessarily well, but boy, what a job distributing he's done tonight.
Richardson's pass deflected out of bounds. Of course, I've been saying it all year. I think North Carolina is the most talented team in the country with quality depth, 10 or 11 deep. But they're not playing like it. And they're running out of time, as you said, to put it together. I believe that was count the basket for Mike Stevens. Couldn't tell if he was scoring the goal or signaling offensive foul. They are counting it. And a chance for a three-point play for Malachi Richardson.
Just nice little fake to the right, goes right to the rim, and that's a tough-looking finish. Now, I agree, Sean, and I've said I think their ceiling is higher than anybody else's. But when Meeks is getting just 14 total minutes, you sense maybe some frustration from Coach Roy Williams. A little bit of inconsistency in other spots. Marcus not shooting it or playing to the level we expect him. There's still some things to be figured out for Carolina.
We saw Seth Greenberg on SportsCenter this morning. Hits the miss. Good inside position by Johnson. That'll be the 5th foul of the half against Syracuse. It's on Tyler Roberson, his first. Marcus Page was preseason, as you said earlier, co-conference player of the year with Malcolm Brogdon. Page may not make any of the all-conference teams.
Agreed.
In the ACC at the end of the year.
I mean, if you're going to pick a backcourt player, certainly Joel Berry has been more consistent.
It's hard to imagine them going all the way and cutting down the nets without Page being the kind of player he's been in the past. All of a sudden, Syracuse within 4. Big miss by Richardson. Hicks from Page.
And folks, you can see why Seth Greenberg's been at it for a while as a head coach, because when Marcus Page has had the ball, he's been dynamic as a passer. Look how confident and comfortable he misses the first. He doesn't miss.
Famous. Toyota, let's go places.
Tonight's Rise Up, brought to you by Street Fighter 5. Well, it's appropriate since number 5 is right now with his head up and his chest up because he feels good, doing exactly what Seth Greenberg asked for. Ball in his hands, being the decision maker and the playmaker for guys around him. And the fans appreciate it.
Line the handoff to Cooney, Syracuse's leading scorer tonight. With 10, Page a little too frisky on the hip of Benajay, called for his second foul. And the second against North Carolina here in the second half. Malachi Richardson learned how to play from his mom. Jackie was a star at Virginia State. Syracuse lucky to get away with that. 19 on the shot clock.
How many times are you going to drive into size and be rejected?
Trouble getting it in timeout. Or is there a foul?
I think Bryce Johnson's going to get a warning from Mike Eads.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can see Mike gesturing to Bryce Johnson. So Cooney will try again. Benajay had 8 3-point field goals Saturday against the Wolfpack. He hasn't made one tonight, 0 for 4. Tough play for Leiden with Johnson holding his ground. Hicks running the floor, couldn't catch it. 10 turnovers for North Carolina. They average just under 11 per game. They're one of the best teams in the country in assist to turnover ratio. As a matter of fact, they have 3 players in the top 7 individually in the ACC in assist to turnover ratio. Cooney. Nice move to the bucket, could not finish, and Bryce Johnson took it off the floor. His 7th rebound. Averaging a double-double for the year, Bryce Johnson, 17 points, 10.4 rebounds.
What makes your note about those guys in the assist to turnover ratio is the pace at which they play, right? One of the fastest in the country, still able to make those kinds of decisions.
And the man who just got that assist, Justin Jackson, is their best in assist to turnover ratio and 3rd in the conference. The last 5 games, Doris, 20 assists, 2 turnovers for Justin Jackson. Cooney a miss. Syracuse might be in the danger zone here. Page down the lane, scoops it home, and a foul. His parents here from Iowa.
Mom is saying, that is my boy doing work on senior night, looking like the Marcus Page we grew accustomed to. Finish under duress, yes sir.
Pistons, who are hot, that's at 8 Eastern, and then at 10:30, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and the Thunder at the Staples Center to battle CP3 and the Clippers. Coverage starts with the wonderfully talented Doris Burke and cohorts. And she told me to refer to them only as cohorts on NBA Countdown, charged by Dew at 7. Both games streaming live on Watch ESPN.
Yeah, just Jalen Rose and Chauncey Billups, both over a decade in the league. We'll call them cohorts.
7-0 run for North Carolina after the free throw by Page. Syracuse is 1 for 9 from the floor in the second half. Villajay, like a kick ball, apparently just bounced it off the leg of the defense. Boeheim off the bench, hollering at Mike Eads about it. 13-point lead. Jeff Anderson gesturing, it just bounced off a leg, wasn't a kick. And Roberson rattles one home. The quick counter. Hicks fouled by Leiden at the rim.
Don't look down on Carolina. They can change ends so fast. It's a kick ball. Instead, Carolina goes the other direction. He's pleading for it. I didn't think he attempted to kick it. It looked like, to me, sort of incidental to the play. You disagree?
Well, you can't kick it. Incidental or otherwise.
I love when you disagree. I wish the audience could see your face.
Trying to disagree without being disagreeable. A skill that I have learned from Jay Billis. Leiden, his foul, his 3rd, so they have 3 players with 3 fouls. Isaiah Hicks. North Carolina foul to the dismay of the partisans. Bryce Johnson called for his 3rd. So he's the first Tar Heel with 3 fouls. That'll get Kennedy Meeks back into the game. I agree with Seth Greenberg and you. Page needs to play the point more. Hicks needs to play more. A lot more.
Yeah, that was Jay Williams' point. As Hicks, he feels like they're better on both sides and both ends with Hicks.
Hicks still out there. Frank Howard back on the court for Syracuse. Part of the 7-man squad. Tyler Leiden, strong drive fouled by Hicks. His 3rd foul.
This kid's got a chance, doesn't he? 6'9", 210 pounds, lifts the defense with that up fake, goes strong to the rim. He has been fearless. I know his body isn't quite up to the task yet every single time, but he's going to get there.
6'9", 210. Forced to play inside more than he ordinarily would with the lack of depth. The fine prep program, New Hampton School in New Hampshire. Member of the USA Under-18 national team. Highly touted recruit. Boy, did he get off to a good start. Syracuse got off to a great start to the season. It's still a big part of their resume. They won the battle for Atlantis. They beat Charlotte, UConn, a win that doesn't look quite as impressive now as UConn has drifted in the wrong direction. Texas A&M, another team they defeated, and Tyler Lydon was fantastic in that tournament. 3 games down there. He averaged 16 a game. Whoa! Nate Grant all alone for the layup and missed it. Quite significantly so.
Big bucket here if they can get it.
Howard, reluctant shooter, 1 for 15 from the year from the 3-point mark. Richardson spinning like a top and calling for a travel. 11 Syracuse turnovers. Page back in. Britt and Page now comprise the backcourt as Joel Berry gets a breather.
A brief rest for Marcus because things were going so much smoother when he was on the floor. And with the way Berry has shot the ball, Sean, you can move him to the 2. The one thing you have to worry about with your backcourt that size, obviously, is any mismatches you might have. Because from a physical strength standpoint, that's a challenge.
Kennedy Meeks battling and got tipped around to Tyler Lydon. 13 minutes to go. North Carolina by 9. Tied with Miami atop the ACC standings. Entering tonight's play, Miami not in action tonight. Lydon again strong to the bucket and foul. Super Tuesdays tomorrow. It's presented by Hotels.com. Tyler Ulis, what a season he's having. And Kentucky taking on Florida in the Big Ten. Indiana now number 12 in Iowa City. Talked about senior night for these 2 seniors. So many talented seniors around the country finishing their regular season careers.
You got Buddy Hield averaging 25.4 points per game. He's had 11 30-point games. Perry Ellis, 1,600 points in a Kansas uniform. Nice to see so many guys stay that long and be that productive.
Time it looks like North Carolina might pull away. Syracuse has had a response. It was 13 a moment ago. It's now 9 as Kennedy Meeks scores from the free throw line. 6 points for Meeks. He's been in double figures in only 2 of the last 13 games for North Carolina since coming back from the bruised knee. Nifty move to the bucket by Howard. Freshman from Maryland. And the top 100 recruit in the ESPN.com ranking is number 92 in the incoming class. Meeks again.
And I tell you, they're just making that entry pass to Meeks. It's too easy. You know, if you get a little ball pressure, see Roy all fired up for some defense.
And the crowd responding to Coach Williams, joining him and exhorting the troops. Richardson fouled on a hand check by Theo Pinson, his second.
Emotional is right. Roy Williams fired up.
Can't get unlimited data.
Roy's doing that on 2 knees that might need replacing. He's also been battling vertigo. Left the game at Boston College after a bout with vertigo. Malachi Richardson off the mark. Roberson is 11th rebound of the night, and it got turned over to Justin Jackson. So in the 2 games here in the triangle against Duke and North Carolina, Tyler Roberson has had 31 rebounds. Still 11 and a half minutes to go in this one. Meeks put it on the floor and lost it. Bodies fly. Mike Eads trying to sort it out. North Carolina ball.
A pretty small lineup on the floor for Carolina right now. Pinson comes in. We've got Britt, Berry, Page, and Meeks.
Britt, Berry, and Page. The tallest of them is Page at 6'2". They list Britt at 6'1" and Berry at 6 feet. Page a miss. Kennedy Meeks blocked by Lydon. And there's a foul on Meeks. As Roberson Howard had the ball and Meeks committed the second foul. And that puts North Carolina over the limit. Both teams are over the limit with 11:13 to go. So we'll likely see a lot of free throws the rest of the way.
And Meeks is a guy, Sean, who I think has got a world of talent. Get the sense there's so much more in there. He's got to continue to grow conditioning-wise. I love his personality. He's got an easy smile. But you want to play at the next level. That takes commitment, work ethic, focus. And I think there's room for growth and all those things for Kennedy Meeks.
He rebounds the front end of the 1-and-1 by Howard. Howard has struggled to shoot the ball everywhere. 52% from the line. Then he had his pocket picked by Nate Britt. The junior all the way down the lane. 5 for Britt. He averages 6 per game. He had scored only 2 points total in their last 2 games. A bucket at Virginia Saturday. Benajay with plenty left in the tank after that move. He has 9. He's the only player in the ACC who scored in double figures in every game this season. He tried to make it 30 in a row if he can score 1 more point.
You can see how physically strong he is. Roy telling us earlier he thinks Marcus Page is as good a defender as he's had at the point. He just took him right to the rack.
Very shot short. Wide the outlet. Syracuse has numbers. Roberson missed the layup. He wanted it at the rim. And Richardson threw it low. I don't know if that threw Roberson off, but he was hoping for the acrobatic dunk, certainly. Britt, short with a 3. Meeks fouled after Pinson had the first try at powering it to the rim.
Do you remember what you were saying in the first half about fatigue and how much it might play a factor? And if you're Jim Boeheim, you've had limited numbers all season.
You can see it. Look at
Yeah,
how
they're tired.
they're walking to the bench. Roberson in particular looks wiped out. Hands on their hips. Coleman's going to come back in with 3 fouls. Meeks rolls. Hit the rim, hit the ceiling, and drop through for 9 points. Coleman returned. Syracuse, a 7-man rotation. Caleb Joseph, Doris, just lost all confidence according to the coaches. He was a starter for all but 1 game at point guard, and he is in the witness protection program now after starting almost every game last year.
It's amazing, and it doesn't matter the level. You can talk in college basketball, NBA, there's the minutes disparity. You can't play the game if you don't believe in your abilities. And it could be something simple, maybe a game where you go for 6 or maybe a few turnovers too many. They're young, Sean, 17 to 21-year-old kids.
Benajay, tough shot fading away. Coleman just got an offensive rebound. Benajay cleaned up the Cooney miss and a foul. So that's all 30 games this season in double figures for Benajay. And Theo Pinson got called for his 3rd foul.
Single-handedly with the drive against Page, and now this play trying to give his team some light. How about that? 6'7", 200 pounds. Just climbs and gets the finish. Nice.
He makes the free throw. 9.5 to go. An 8-point lead for North Carolina. They just cannot put Syracuse away. Defense right there. Benajay with help from Leiden. Hicks, shot clock at 5 as he missed. Leiden a good rebound in traffic.
Boy, he's gone up with authority, Leiden. He's competed in there.
9 points, 4 rebounds for Tyler Leiden tonight. Richardson, the look-away pass. Coleman tips it in. It's a 6-point game. 4 points for Dajuan Coleman. And you can feel anxiety in the crowd here at the Smith Center. Jackson, lob. And he got away with a tough catch by Hicks. Fouled on the floor by Dajuan Coleman, his 4th. So he's the first player in the game on either side with 4 fouls. Meeks and Pinson got a nice hand as they went out. Bryce Johnson has had a very quiet night by his standards. 6 points. Is back in there. Isaiah Hicks Jr. from Oxford, North Carolina. 7 points. Good free throw shooter as well. 77% from the line. Nothing but net on that release.
As a team, 73%.
Benajay to Lydon off a screen. Tyler Lydon, a 3 and 12 points for the freshman.
See, when Carolina was a little bit smaller, they had a guard in that pick and roll situation. In that instance, it was a pick and pop, and Bryce was forced to guard the pop, and he didn't even bother.
Johnson fouled as he turned to make a strong move to the bucket. Malachi Richardson the foul, his third.
See, Johnson just wants to corral Michael Benajay. Well, guess what? Tyler Lydon is a terrific three-point shooter. You cannot, once your guard gets by that initial screen, just stay at home.
Johnson way short. It's a 2-shot foul the rest of the way for North Carolina. Syracuse is in the double bonus. Lydon with 12 tonight. He'd scored 20 or more in 2 of the previous 4 games. He had 20 in their win at Boston College, 21 in their home loss against Pittsburgh. 2 misses by Johnson. It's run down in the corner by Berry. Tough pass to Page. Found Hicks. Looked like a disaster waiting to happen. And instead it's a lay-in by Bryce Johnson. Assist to Justin Jackson. Under 8 to go. Roberson had trouble on the catch. Benajay, no problem. 14 for Benajay. Starting to assert himself in the second half.
Sean, I thought he changed the tenor of this game. The drive by Marcus Page, and then that follow-up dunk. And now all of a sudden he's starting to percolate.
Berry. Quick 3, didn't really need it. Johnson last to touch.
Well, Carolina, so many options, so much talent, but Michael Benajay in Syracuse, pride in the program, doing work on the glass.
Yes.
As you guys mentioned, Kansas already has clinched at least a share of the Big 12 title. 12 years in a row conference champions, and one away from those great UCLA teams of Coach Wooden.
Excellence is hard. Sustained excellence, near impossible. And he is getting the job done in Lawrenceville South.
Great note. Whoa, Cooney, blocking foul. They're going to count the bucket. I don't believe so. Cooney wants it. The bench wants it. And the officials confirmed they're not going to score the goal.
Boy, just
There's a second foul on Berry.
Terrific handle to split those defenders. Think about that. There was not a ton of space. You're taking on some size.
More conference titles under Bill Self than home losses.
Think about that.
That might be the most amazing current stat in college basketball. 7 minutes to go. Cooney makes it a 1-possession game. This thin Syracuse team, 7-man band, and Howard playing more minutes than usual tonight. Looked fatigued, looked like they might be fading away, and now it's a 3-point game. Carolina 14-1 here at home this year, and the only loss, that 1-point loss to Duke a couple of weeks ago. Johnson.
And you just said it at the break. I mean, this guy has had an ACC Player of the Year type year. But there's stretches tonight against a Syracuse team that doesn't have a ton of depth inside. Well, we've not heard from him enough.
He disappears. He should be begging for the ball and going to town inside. Not only are they thin inside, but they have foul trouble. Justin Jackson. 2 straight buckets for North Carolina. No timeout from Jim Boeheim, at least not yet. Benajay trying to quiet them in a crowd, out of bounds. Syracuse ball with 20 to shoot.
Goodness gracious. We know Roy Williams and this crowd has enough energy, and all of a sudden Bryce Johnson's starting to play with energy. Cups it to make sure nobody can get a piece of it. Justin Jackson running the floor. I tell you, don't blink and don't put your head down if you're playing North Carolina, because they change ends at light speed.
Roberson really doesn't like to shoot from that far out. It's spun out. They can't get it inside. They settle for a page 3. Foul on the rebounding action against Syracuse.
I feel, Sean, as much as it's been a struggle for Marcus, he's been dynamic as a playmaker setup guy tonight. He's taken a lot of quick threes with plenty of shot clock left. And Roy has said one thing that I've talked to him about all year is be intelligently aggressive. And one of those things means if you're not shooting it great, how about just one extra pass? And I want so badly, we don't root, I don't care if he wins or loses. You just want to see a kid, and you touched on how good a kid he is, what a good young man, great student. I just want him to play free. Shake off all the conversation, just play, Marcus.
Wrist injury at the beginning of the year certainly set the tone. And you wonder, as a senior looking toward professional basketball, with every bad game in your mind, you start to think about you're costing yourself. Benajay, step back 3. Leiden the long rebound. Syracuse had it to within 3. Richardson fouled shooting a 3 by Justin Jackson. His first foul. Both teams now in the double bonus.
Yep, you know the rules. Don't foul a jump shooter. Especially not one on the move.
Malachi Richardson, the free throw shooter. %70% for the year. Talked about how unusual it was, Doris, for North Carolina to lean so heavily on the three-point shot. In the first half, they made 6 threes. Their season average per game is 5.5. They haven't made a 3 here in the second half. They're 0 for 6 from beyond the arc. Well, they lead by 7. 2 out of 3 from the freshman Richardson. Five minutes to go. North Carolina tied with Miami atop the ACC standings with 2 games to go. 1 left after tonight, and it's at Duke with game day on hand Saturday at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Hicks escaped a double team. Good hands by Richardson, but Hicks got it back. Shot clock at 5. Jackson the floater. Hicks couldn't corral it, but they got the ball back and a full shot clock.
And Sean, their rebounding advantage in 20 paint points in the second half. So getting back to how they've won all year in this second half.
And that's been the bugaboo for Syracuse for much of the year. That lack of depth inside. They struggle on the boards. Richardson got it back for the Orange. Richardson lost it off his leg. 14 turnovers for the Cuse.
It felt like a young mistake, didn't it? Just trying to race to make a play.
Under 4 minutes to go now. Page in the lane short. Just a fresher Carolina team at the moment. Cooney did well to get it back. And he's fouled on a reach in. He'll shoot a pair at the other end as Page is called for his third.
We'll be on the call with Brent and Fran. We're all happy to see that. Looking forward to seeing her at the game. Sean, Doris?
Amen. That's the best news we've heard all day. Welcome back, Holly. Trevor Cooney makes the first of 2. He's 5 out of 5 from the line tonight. 13 points. He had 27 in their loss to Carolina at the Dome. on January 9th, but 5 threes in the game. It's a 5-point game as we tick down to 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in regulation. North Carolina tie with Miami, UVA, Louisville, Notre Dame, Duke, all cheering for Syracuse right now, all with a chance of at least a share of the conference regular season title. Joel Berry lost control. Cooney. Benajay has Roberson coming. Another low pass that's laid in by Roberson. It's a 1-possession game.
You've got the top of that zone. Benajay and Cooney, 2 and 3 in the league in steals. You better go in. You better be certain your handle's tight enough to get between them because they're big, they're strong, they've got exceptional hands.
Benajay leads the conference in steals. Cooney's in the top 10 all time at Syracuse in steals. 8 on the shot clock. Again, they can't get it inside. Cooney deflected that. Rebound tapped out. Cooney fouled by Berry. So Cooney's going to go to the line to shoot 2. The crowd thought it should have gone the other way. And we had a pretty good view at it.
I think they actually are saying it's going the other way.
Wow. Well, the crowd booed. And Cooney thought he was going to shoot free throws. That is a big call. Berry, it rattles out. And he's 84.4 for the year, 89 plus.
See, I appreciate that we're getting this second look. You see that
it's on Cooney. That's a good call.
It is, and the reason is he was closer to making the play to the ball. He had the inside track, and Cooney came in and bodied him. But it was close.
Yeah, no doubt. But it was the right call. 4-point game. 2.5 to go. The freshman Richardson. They get it to Benajay. Guarded by Page. Benajay, yes! And that's a 3.
That's defended as well as you can defend it. And Page ended that possession with a hand directly in Benajay's face. That is just terrific concentration from Benajay.
Is it too late to include him in serious talk for Player of the Year in the conference? Hicks drops it in. Hey, for one of the few times tonight, really did power it into the middle of that Syracuse defense. 10 for Hicks. Under 2 minutes to go. What a season of big Mondays and a fitting finale. Benajay needs help. 5 to shoot. Richardson shoved away Jackson. Offensive foul. And 4 fouls on Richardson.
Well, a quick look. Does he use that left arm to push off? He actually puts his shoulder and his left arm into the chest of Jackson.
Jackson got away for a moment with bumping on his hip before the shove. 1:20 to go. Berry for 3. Way off. Tapped out by Hicks. Johnson dropped it in. One minute to go. A 5-point game. Benajay. Rebound Jackson.
Jim Boeheim looking up at the clock, trying to decide, does he want a foul? And now they're going to go get him.
They don't want to foul. Page. Steal. Richardson the throwdown. Timeout. Syracuse. Huge steal and bucket by the freshman.
Whereas the ball crosses half court, do Cooney and Benajay cheat up, go for a trap, and are Richardson and Roberson lurking on the wings?
About 13 seconds difference. Syracuse trying to trap. Carolina will run down the clock. Syracuse not going to foul on this possession. Hicks, Berry, 15 on the shot clock. 25 in the game. They have excellent foul shooters on the court. Johnson got Roberson in the air. Shot way short. Lyden has it. 15 seconds to go and a timeout. 3-point game. Benajay spins to the bucket. Missed the left-hander. Carolina throws and a foul. Benajay made a strong move, couldn't finish with the left. And Doris, with that much time left, you like the decision, go get the 2?
Yeah, I think if obviously he makes it, you've got to go as quick as you can, because there's still, had he made this, Sean, probably about 9 ticks. So then you just foul immediately, forced to put them on the line. He just can't complete the play.
Berry, the free throw shooter, started the night 89.6 from the line in league play. Behind only Malcolm Brogdon and Cat Barber, who are both going to be first-team all-conference players in all likelihood. $13 for Berry. Timeout, North Carolina. Valiant effort on the road in a tough place to play for Syracuse, battling from 13 down.
Inside for Carolina would have been a tough play, but you still would have had 10 ticks on the clock.
North Carolina's going to pressure in the backcourt, try to make Syracuse just use a little more of the time. Cooney to play it in unguarded. They're doubling Benajay. Richardson caught it going forward. Pulls up for a 3. Short. Rebound Berry. North Carolina wins. 13-4 in the conference with 1 game remaining. A huge step toward a regular season conference championship. They have clinched the double bye. The top 4 seeds get a double bye in next week's ACC tournament. That also eliminates Duke and Notre Dame from any chance of the regular season title, because the worst Carolina can finish with is 5 losses. And Duke